today. I am so excited that there are already a handful of you out there hanging out, chatting with each other. Marley, Robin, it's Susan. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you guys are getting to know each other a little bit. Let's see. Now, I guess we were just talking about a handful of things that we could sketch. And yes, this little scorpion is absolutely adorable. So, yes, we can increase the leg count just a little bit. The scorpion has obviously 8 legs and then 2, what we would call pedipalps. These appear in the front. The scientific name for these would be their pedipalps, because all arachnids actually have pedipalps. Just the scorpions are modified into claws, whereas the pedipalps on tarantulas just look like another leg. Hi, Avea! Welcome! Yes, we had a scorpion specifically asked for, and here's the issue with scorpion anatomy. I am not 100%, I'm not really great at scorpion anatomy, because I'm an entomologist, right? So I took all my classes studying insects and insecta. I did not spend as much time studying arachnids. But I can share with you what I know, and I have a little cheat sheet next to me to help remind me of what's going on in and around the head. Yeah. Very good. So, and there's one other thing that I wanted to try, because we are, let's see, we can even turn that light on. I don't know if it's going to help much. Let's see. You won't judge. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, the other thing I wanted to try with you, ladies and gentlemen, is I know that scorpions reflect ultraviolet light even after they pass. So, it's not as brilliant, but this exoskeleton, this scorpion should glow under black light. So, we are going to try it once just to see if it works. I'm going to turn my camera off just so that, because it's going to get really dark in here anyway. And I'm going to turn off all of my lights. I want to know if it's going to glow. There we go. So you can see this is fun. I've never tried this before. Wow, that's so cool. So those 2 dots in the center of the top there, those are the eyes. And so I believe scorpions have 6 eyes. They have 2 on the top and 4 lateral eyes off to the side. Up there all the way in the front, I can't use the pointer because I'm using both my hands for the microscope. But up there near closer to the front of the head, that's where the chelicera are, or the some parts of the mouth parts. Yes, very cool. All right, I'll go ahead and turn our lights back on so we can get going. All right. That is a funny thing. Yes, Robin. The fact that, people assume that we know everything about arthropods, scorpions, and tarantulas, even though entomology is specific to insects. So if we're looking at the length of this scorpion, it's not incredibly long. Now, I will admit, I'm not sure exactly what species this scorpion is. There's its stinger at the very end of its tail. I'm not sure what species this scorpion is, but because I found it on Ruby Road in Arizona, and the fact that it is so small, My guess would be that it is some species of bark scorpion. But that is just kind of a professional guess. All right. Yes, I was shining a UV light on it. So all scorpions have the ability to reflect black light, to reflect ultraviolet light. And there's a handful of beliefs as to why they might be able to do this. One of which is for mating so that they can recognize each other. Some people believe that they can actually see themselves glowing. With, they have these really small lateral eyes, so these small eyes along the sides, and they could see themselves glowing, so they know if they're kind of out in the open, reflecting the UV light from the stars, or if they're under their stones. The funny thing is that there's not a lot of ultraviolet light out at nighttime, and they're nocturnal animals. So there is some debate as to essentially why they even need this, because there isn't that much UV light out naturally at nighttime, other than the little bit of UV light that's coming from the stars. So let's see. The third reason, so the other guess as to why scorpions reflect ultraviolet light is there's actually a protein in their exoskeleton that reflects the light, and there are some scientists that hypothesize that UV light, if it got into their bodies, it can start damaging their internal organs. So having that protein in their exoskeleton is essentially like built-in sunblock. It helps defend them from the UV rays and reflects them. You're funny, Marley. I'm not sure why human why pee reflects UV light. I also know that blood reflects UV light, and so you can buy UV flashlights as kind of hunting tracker tools, essentially. Alright, so we're gonna go bark scorpion. Enough chatting about the animal. I think it's about time to start sketching. Let's see. Yeah, why? I don't know. Alright, so because our camera's back on, our microscope gets frozen, so this is the size of our scorpion. There is not a pin through the scorpion, all right? There are pins that surround the scorpion, but my scorpion is not pinned because arachnids, like scorpions and tarantulas and spiders, are generally stored in alcohol. Luckily, I had this scorpion dried that was going to be going into a display case, so it doesn't have a pin all the way through it. But that also means that I can't pick it up without damaging it. So I can move this tick. We might not have the best. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go all table camera, and then we're going to put it up next to the ruler like this. And if we put it at the same height, alright, from the end of the tail to the front of the head, I would say, what, 3.3 or 3.4 centimeters? So that would be my approximation on that. But you also just got the ruler, so if you've got, you can always use that too. Let's see. We're chatting over here. Happy equinox. Yes. Yes, Chaos, we're sketching a scorpion today. All right, so I want to make sure, let's see. We're going to get our overall picture of our scorpion going. Our scorpion is as far out, zoomed out as it can be over there on the microscope image. So I'm going to start my sketch up here just to kind of give an idea of the, I'm going to give myself an idea of the length of the body segments and things like that. So let's see. If I put the front of the head here, it gives me enough room to get some segments in. I'm excited about looking at these claws. I'm thinking that that top claw is going to be closer to the angle that we want to sketch, because the one on the bottom is straight up and down, so it might be a little bit trickier. So what I do when I'm first starting is I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a really light outline of all of the different areas so that I can, number one, make sure that my sketch is not going to be going off of the paper. And then, number two, make sure my legs are all going in the right direction. I can't tell you how many times I start a sketch and then it goes off the paper. All right, so I've got these mouth parts taken care of. The chelicera go from here all the way up to the front. So they're like these two little pieces, and when we zoom in, you're going to see it better. But they open and close like this, and they can move in and out like this. So when a scorpion's eating, its mouth looks like it's moving in this direction. And I actually do have a video on my YouTube channel of a scorpion eating. I posted it a long time ago, so I had given it kind of like, I don't know, Halloween sort of a background sound, but it's still a cool video. Alright, so I'm going to give myself this rectangle, and this is going to be that first body segment. Like we know, arachnids have a different number of body parts than insects do. So this part up here at the top, that is, it's kind of like a mixture between the head and the thorax, because it has eyes here in the center, and it has those 4 lateral eyes along the sides, so it's got 6 eyes, and its mouth parts here, and its legs are here. And so if you're talking about body segments, this one up in the front is the head and the thorax combined. And when you say the head and the thorax combined, that is called the cephalothorax. Cephalo, it directly translates to head. So that word means literally head thorax. And that's what this segment is right here. I believe our leg segments are very similar to insect leg segments, although I think that this is the coccyx right here. So what I would hypothesize is that this right here at the base is the coxal segment, and then the next one would be the femur, and then the tibia, and then the tarsal segments. That's what I would hypothesize. And then these are the chelicerae. We've got our eyes, our legs, our pedipalps. We're good. And pedipalps right here, the scientific name for the claw, is spelled like this. Pedi, like pedicure, like it looks like a leg or a foot. And palps. And those are just appendages that help my arachnids grab onto their food and bring their food to their mouths. So in scorpions, they look like claws. In tarantulas, they look like legs. In jumping spiders, they look like little hammers in the males, and they're really cute because they, like, dance around with them. So our question is, how wide is it? And if I am measuring... If you're measuring the width of the claws, like where the widest part up here in the front, I would say that that's pretty close to a centimeter. But if you're talking about the entire length of the body, I would say probably a half of a centimeter, maybe thinner. In fact, if we want to know the width of the body, we can actually measure that on our microscope. Give me a second. Sometimes I have the ability to put the scorpion back exactly where it was. That time, not so much. Alright, if I'm measuring across from one leg to another leg, we're looking at a third of a centimeter, 0.3 centimeters. And if we were doing the width, the widest width across the claws, 1.3 centimeters. Majestic is the word. If it's not pinned, does that mean it's not safe for you to turn it upside down? Yes. Unfortunately, I cannot turn my scorpion upside down. So there are a couple of features on the bottom that we're probably not going to be able to see. I mean, in theory, I could turn it upside down, but it would only be once, and it would be at the end of the session, and we would be risking breaking off a leg. But I'd be willing to do it for you guys. So I am right now kind of stick-legging my scorpion. So I'm taking all of these segments and I'm giving them one segment at a time just to kind of see how my scorpion's legs are going to be situated. And that makes sure that they're kind of also staying on the paper. Akshay is here! Any word on Invertober? Ooh. I kind of love it. I might have to do it, huh? All right. Why are they normally preserved in liquid rather than pinned? Good question. So, arachnids like scorpions and tarantulas and spiders, they generally will lose a lot of their characteristics when they dry like this in comparison to being left in alcohol, where they can stay a little more plump. And I know with scorpions, or at least with, sorry guys, I'm trying to sketch at the same time. With spiders, when they die, they'll curl their legs in, and that's because they're partially hydraulic. So when they dry out, their legs naturally will curl in really strong because they don't have the body pressure to push out their legs. Because generally, they're going to use these little pumps in their arms to kind of push their body fluid into their leg to expand it. And so Why do we leave them in alcohol rather than pin them? It has to do with their musculature and the ways that you have to kind of maneuver them to identify them. It's really difficult to do it if they are pinned and dried, but it's a lot easier to do it if they are in alcohol. So it has everything to do with the way that they're identified. All right, so I got all done reading through your stuff. Now I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see. Let's go ahead and count abdominals. Ooh, said abdominal segments. I believe, yes. This area right here, from here all the way to the beginning of the tail, this is what we would consider. The abdomen. Although in scorpions, it also can be called the opisthoma. Although, don't ask me why it has a different name than the abdomens that everyone else has. Not exactly sure. But this segment right here, that's normally would be called the abdomen, doesn't include the tail. All right, is either called the abdomen or the opisthoma. And my scorpion's tail, I'm actually going to make it so it's curled back over its body because I'm running out of room. So I figure that's a great excuse to curl the tail back in this direction. And the tail, you can call it the tail. That's our common name for it. But we do also have a scientific name for the tail, and it's called the Metasoma. Not to be confused with the insect metasoma, that is the third segment of the thorax. A scorpion's metasoma is the tail. This guy right here. Each one of these segments are... Come on. Each one of these segments are mostly rounded squares, but they do have some of these sharper pointed edges. This naturally is going to curl over the back of the scorpion. My scorpion's tail is laying flat because that's the way I wanted it for the display. And then this is the scorpion's tail. You can call it the venom bulb. I think that is a kind of fun name for the scorpion's tail because it reminds me of Christmas. Someone needs to make me a Christmas ornament that is a venom bulb that looks like a scorpion's tail. So that's going to be kind of your common name for it. You can also call it the Telson. All right, so I'm going to be kind of outlining my scorpion tail coming back over the back of my scorpion. It has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, approximately 5 segments. As you know, we're going to be zooming in and I'm going to be getting closer to a realistic sketch. This is just our outline, so it's okay that we're going a little bit fast on the first one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 segments that are mostly square. And then the 5th segment is a longer rectangle with the Telson or the venom bulb. Then someone is going to get me one, I'm sure of it. Perfect. All right, so I'm pretty happy with my first outline. It gives me an idea of where everything's going. LM Telsano, I love it. Actually, that's great. Alrighty. Let's get some zooming in. I'm going to start, instead of starting, because I normally start at the head, but instead of starting at the cephalothorax of our scorpion, I think we start at the claws. Oh, you guys are great. You guys are hilarious. All right, so I want to get drawing. I want to get to sketching this scorpion claw. So I'm going to erase the little bit of an outline I had because I know where it's going. And I'm going to start. Here's one kind of interesting thing: a difference between scorpions and crabs or lobsters. Look at, I believe it's scorpions and crabs. If you look at the thumb, scorpions' thumbs are on the outside, so they pinch like this, where this side is the one that's moving and this is the one that stays still. If you look at a crab's claws, crabs move in the other direction. Crabs move this part and leave the outside one sturdy. And I'm not sure why the adaptation is like that. I know a lot of you like to ask why, and I'm not sure why, but I know that that's what, I know that that is a big difference in the claws. So it's also another thing I like to point out, because as we are sketching our claws, we want to make sure that we give this little suture, this little line right here, because that is a break between the pieces in the exoskeleton. It is a joint that moves. I wonder if we can completely 3D print and model a scorpion exoskeleton. Oh, that would be so much fun! And you guys are helping me expand my my skills, because I don't have much experience actually sketching scorpions. So it feels a little bit different to me. One thing that we do know about scorpions is that when a scorpion has really, really small claws in comparison to the size of the body, then it doesn't have a lot of strength in its claws, right? And so if it tries to catch food, it might not be able to catch it. So my scorpions with smaller claws need stronger venom to help paralyze their prey. But if you see a scorpion with really, really big claws, it's likely a scorpion that doesn't have as strong a venom because all of its strength is in its claws. So if you see, essentially, the scorpions are going to have one strong part because they only have essentially so many adaptation points, right? They either get strong claws and weak venom, or they get strong venom and weak claws. So this angle comes back. Maybe I'm gonna make it even stronger, I think. Okay. All right, so we've got our claw kind of taken care of. We do have sensory hairs around our claws. These are going to be hairs a lot of times because the pedipalps, they not only use them to catch onto their food, but if you've ever watched a scorpion walk around, they hold their front legs out in front of them. And that's mostly because they're sensing what's around them. So they want to use those claws kind of like insects use their antennae to help feel what's in front of them so that they don't run into things. Alright, so I think that's what my first claw is going to look like. I am going to go ahead and sketch the claw on the other side. I may not do all of the legs, but I want to do both of the claws. I'm going to get these chelicera done first, though. I hope everyone has taken care of their leg segments. There are a handful of, I would almost call them hair follicles, that have multiple hairs coming out of them right here. And I'm not sure if you would call this a femur because it's not technically a leg, it's a pedipalp. Are scorpion and crab claws convergent evolution? I believe so. Scorpions and crabs are both scorpions and crabs are both arthropods because they all have exoskeletons and jointed legs, but they have many, many differences. My guess would be that that's a divergent evolution. Or convergent. It would be convergent evolution. So those guys used all their adaptation points on the truck. Yep. Yeah, I believe that their claw structure emerged separately along the evolutionary chains. So I'm trying to get a decent image of our chelicera up here, and what I want is up here, so I'm just gonna, yeah, something like that. Alright, so I'm not trying to focus on the head or the eyes or anything back here. My goal was to see right here, and I think that this is closing in on getting a pretty good image of this claw, or this chelicera. Alright, so this chelicera, or if you wanted to pluralize it, you actually add an E at the end of it. So it's a chelicerae if you're talking about both of them. And you can see it almost has that bulb kind of base here. That's where all the muscles are. And up here, it looks like teeth that are kind of crossed and interconnected. That's because they kind of are. My scorpion kind of passed away with a little bit of an overbite. Without his chelicerae like this, they're kind of like this. But naturally, they're going to move in this direction, and they're going to open, close, and kind of pinch and squeeze their prey. And when they're paralyzed, they're going to do this. Nom, 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 nom. What's the Transformers looking bump on the back of the scorpion? My guess is that you were looking at the eyes But we're gonna get back to that once I finish sketching the chelicera. So our claws are connected up here in the front, and I'm gonna give myself kind of these two parentheses. They look a little bit like, all right, and those end flat, right up, kind of bumped up against the cephalothorax. And then up here in the front, this is where those claws are. And it looks like the inside one is the one that is complete. And then the one on the outside is the one that looks like is the one that moves. So we're going to go something like this. And it's so hard to get these about right. Especially because I think my scorpion might have gotten too big. I might have to shrink it a little bit. Well, if you leave him open like that, it looks like he's eating. Oh, no. It's funny. It almost looks even more realistic if you do let them cross. Because that is going to be kind of the natural setting, but they do open and close like this. So I want both of them on my sketch. I'm going to leave one open and one closed. And I'm probably going to be changing the width of the body, because I think that somebody had mentioned the width of the scorpion, and I think mine's just a little bit wide for our sketch. There we go. All right, let's get that second claw taken care of. When I'm sketching with students, I have a student or two who use computers to sketch. They sketch digitally because we're meeting on Zoom. And so those students who sketch digitally have the ability to use the symmetry tool. And then all they have to do is sketch the one side, and everything that they draw comes out doubled on the other side. That is such a cool tool for insect illustration. And one day I will sketch virtually. Alrighty. So I've got my chelicera taken care of. I was just going ahead and kind of doubling my claw from my left over to the claw on the right. Kind of like this. And that gives our scorpion a little bit of depth. Yay, he's got claws. All right, let's move and check out that transformer sign on the scorpion's cephalothorax. Where is the actual mouth? Let's see. Okay, forget Telson. I'm gonna name my firstborn Chelicera. That's cool. Chelicera Telson Pfeiffer. I love that. So someone asked me, where is the actual mouth? Does food travel through the chelicera, or is there a mouth underneath? Now, I believe that the mouth hole is kind of inside. I don't think that we can see it. I think that it's kind of buried. I think that it is somewhere down here. And when these when the chelicera are actually moving, they're actually moving in and out of this body place. So these chelicera are all the way out, and they open and close like this, but they do have the ability to retract very far into the head. And then when they're doing this, they're actually pulling pieces and juices towards their mouth hole. But I believe it's in this general region. They don't drink it like a scorpion, or they don't drink it like a tarantula would. Like a tarantula has fangs that they have the ability to drink their food. Scorpions don't drink their food. They do kind of eat their food. They do use a mouth hole. And gynandromorphs, that's true. Alright, so the transformer type symbol on the cephalothorax, my guess is that you saw these two little red dots here, and those are the eyes. Now, those are going to be the main eyes. I believe there might be an eye right about here and another eye right about here that are really hard to see because they're on the edges. You'll also notice that there's this kind of round line on either side of these central eyes, and that's because those eyes are actually kind of on a hill. So rather than this back being completely flat, these are on a hill so that the scorpion can see around it rather than just seeing up. They can see out too. Scorpions, obviously, they don't have the best eyesight, but they don't need it because they're nocturnal. So they are going to be using their sensory hairs that you're seeing all over the place. They're definitely going to be using those a lot when they are walking around at night. They also have the ability to see ultraviolet light. They can see themselves glowing. So, they may also be using those eyes because they're kind of sideways to look at themselves. It's kind of an interesting thought process. Alright, so I'm going to give us our cephalothorax. Looks like it's a little bit pinched in the center. It gets a little bit narrow before it gets wide. I will give you the next word up here. That's this segment that we're sketching that has the eyes and the legs on it. Alright, so something like that for our overall body shape. Those eyes are in the center. Now, something funny about the eyes of a scorpion. If you're ever holding a scorpion, I hold many, I love them, and you shine a black light on it, the scorpion will glow, the eyes will not. The eyes themselves do not glow ultraviolet. They don't glow in UV, they don't reflect blue, anything like that. So, when you've got really, really dark scorpions that you can't really see the eyes too well, a lot of times the way I show students the eyes is by using the flashlight and then showing them where the two dark spots are. So that's one kind of nifty way. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my scorpion has this marking around the eyes to indicate that there's a little hill around them. And then I'm going to draw the little 4 lateral eyes. I believe they're located in the corners. We could Google that. If somebody wanted to Google scorpion lateral eyes, we might be able to get something more accurate. All right. Let's do some legs. How about that? I've been enjoying working this scorpion from the front back. I think that the right legs are a little bit closer to, yeah, the right legs are a little bit closer to kind of natural walking position. So that's the one I want to do. I'm going to be focusing on. She does have legs. How many segments in the abdomen? Marley asks before we get to the legs. I'll get you that answer real quick. So the abdomen, not including the tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say 7 abdominal segments. All right, so right about here is where my first leg is going to be coming up. Obviously, my first leg is going to be moving in that forwards direction. I want to get this coxy. You know what? There's a trochanter in there. I bet you there's a trochanter on that leg. Give me a minute. I think that's the segment in the leg that I was missing. Yes. Trochanter, femur, tibia, tarsi. Fascinating. So, scorpions have a series of leg segments. I don't know them. I was just trying to look them up. And Robin would like to know how many tail segments again. And I believe it is 5. Let me go ahead and throw that under our microscope for us really quick. 5 and the telson. So, this square, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. This final kind of rectangle, that's 5. And then this, the venom bulb or the telson, is at the end. So that was, I don't know if you consider the venom bulb as part of the tail or not. So 5 segments and then the venom bulb. I believe you, ladies and gentlemen, because I get to talking, are a little bit ahead of me because I haven't gotten to the abdomen and the tail yet. I wanted to get these legs sketched on first. And then I got caught in the segmentation. So I did read it, if you would like to know. It goes coxa, and then trochanter, and then femur, and then I don't know if I can. So it goes coxa, trochanter, femur first. Those are the 3 first segments. And then after that, it goes patella, tibia, tarsi. And that's kind of interesting because isn't the patella a knee bone? And it's between the femur and the tibia? So I believe that scorpions have more leg segments, or at least extended leg segments, in comparison to insects. So our coccyx is that hip bone, and then our femur, and then this next one that's kind of rounded is a trochanter, and then patella to be a tarsi, yeah. I'm going to make this segment just a little bit wider, I think. All right, 1, 2, 3. So that leg kind of goes underneath that one. That is fine with me. And then our hind leg kind of protrudes backwards. So I think what I'm going to do with my hind leg is sketch it after I get this tail done, the abdomen done, so that I know kind of where it's going to sit. Marley broke his patella last year. It is the kneecap. Yes. And so then, all right, so the patella is the kneecap, which means it makes a lot of sense that the patella is between the femur and the tibia, because even that's the case on our bones too. All right, let's look at the abdomen, specifically the opistoma. All right, Akshay, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We had a blast. Hopefully we'll see you next week. All right. That first abdominal segment is pretty narrow. That's something that I noticed when I was first counting those segments for Marley, and as we were sketching them ourselves, is that first segment is very, very narrow, and the second one is only a little bit better. The third one we get some actual sustenance too, so our third abdominal segment is of decent length, and the fourth one gets even longer, and I'm building these abdominal segments one square at a time so that they do kind of look separated, and I'm going to be coming back and adding those little U shapes on the bottom. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is larger. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. So 2 more. Alright, so I've got my abdomen about worked out. I'm going to go ahead and kind of even it out just a little bit. It got a little wonky looking. I might add some structure back in a minute. There we go. Alright, now our tail is going to be coming back in the other direction. I already worked at a little bit of it. I want this first square of the tail to kind of go over the end of the abdomen just a little bit and look like it's curling back over. I'm going to move our scorpion so we can check out the tail. If you discover the pea treasure on the underside of the scorpion, miss me. Red really fun drawing these when we don't have the whole insect on the screen. Yeah, I have that issue too. And you know what? I was gonna sketch a scaphophagid with you, ladies and gentlemen, and that I do have a full dorsal picture of. I don't have a full picture of our scorpion just yet. And so I wonder, would just having a scale bar on the microscope be enough to make a difference? If I left a bar that was a 1/2 centimeter, let's say, oh no! I accidentally X'd out the program. Silly Trisha. There we go. I was looking to see if I could add a scale bar that would just stay, but the issue is the scale bar would only be correct at this distance. So it would be correct right now. I'll have to play with it a little bit to see if I have the ability to make that word bigger. But that little red line off to the left, it is a 1/2 centimeter long. If that helps. Each one of these abdominal each one of these tail segments, ooh, the metasoma. Each one of these tail segments, these are the metasoma. There are 4 that are more square-like, and these segments also have kind of these sharp edges to them where they connect. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got that rectangular segment and the venom bulb, or what we call the telson. Right here. And it sits kind of wide at the base and then is very sharp. Alright, so here is an interesting fact about scorpions. And I know you guys are going to laugh at me because you might say it always comes back to the butt. But you know what? There are a lot of fun butt facts. So you just got to deal with it. The scorpion poops, essentially. It excretes through the end of its stinger also. So the end of the stinger is not just for venom. It is also the end of the digestive tract. And scorpions do have the ability, they can drop that telson. They can lose the end of their tail. Unfortunately, if a scorpion loses the end of their tail, their telson, they no longer have the ability to excrete waste from their body. So they'll start to kind of clog up their digestive tract, and then they will lose a tail segment one at a time as they're kind of all constipated, and then they pass away. And it's really, really sad. But that's, I always wonder why they don't just, like, push it out of the hole at the end of this track, but there is some type of thing that stops them. If they lose their tail, they lose the ability to to excrete waste. All right. I think, yes, I'm having a pretty difficult time kind of getting this scorpion to look right. He's naturally just kind of a tricky beast. I think this might be the second or third time I've really put in some effort on a scorpion. And I definitely say practice makes perfect with these guys. I'm kind of off. I haven't caught up with all of these chats, so let me go ahead and give me a minute to read your guys' comments. Taking a screenshot when I'm seeing the whole insect is a smart move. Don't think the scale bar would help you as much. Probably not. Oh, are there tarsal claws? Yes, there are. Let's go zoom in. Here, there's two of them. They help them walk around, and keep in mind, when I'm zoomed in, the scale bar is not correct. So I'm all zoomed in now. There you go. Okay, you're not naming your son Telson anymore? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin the word for you. I was just trying to share additional information. This is what I do. I'll make sure not to tell the next people that scorpions poop out of their stinger. Invertebutt week. Poop umbrellas. That's a great tangent too. I enjoyed that one. You know, I feel like there are a handful of gross facts that people should know, especially when teaching, because those are the types of facts that really grab people's attentions. Those are the facts that you remember, and I think those are the ones that also make kids laugh and smile about the animals you're working with. And for me, I'm trying to create a connection with the insects or with the invertebrates that we are working with. So I'll always kind of bring up the slightly gross, kind of weird facts about the animals to really kind of bring them back around. Ozzy for Osmenterium. So did the venom injection system evolve from their pooping system? I have no idea. I have no idea how the venom injection system works, how they developed their venom, why their venom is in their tail and not in their fangs or in their claws like other arachnids. Because tarantulas and scorpions, their venom is up here in their fangs, and they have fangs. Scorpions are wildly different because their venom is in a different place, and they don't have fangs, and all types of things. You never did spot any tortoise beetle larvae. Sad. Next year, just keep an eye out for Morning glory, especially native species of morning glory. If you see it kind of crawling around, vining around on the edges of forests, that's where you're going to find the most tortoise beetles and the most tortoise beetle grubs. And then you can see your own poop umbrella. All right. So I hope that we have gained a knowledge about our scorpion. I hope that you've enjoyed sketching it with me. You did want to try and flip it over. I am willing to try. It is moving pretty well. All right. But I'm not sure exactly what you wanted to see in the bottom. Just don't knock the Telson off. Deal. So I was trying to see the mouth hole for Marley. And here are the chelicera here. And there seems to be a hole here. Up here in the front. There's so many really cool plates down here. I'm not sure what they all do. It looks like a lot of these larger plates where they would be connecting to the legs, those look structural, like musculature. And then I heard you wanted to see the gill things. There you go. I forget what they're called. Give me a second. What are they called? Pectins. They're pectins, and I don't know if they are like gills. I don't know if they have the ability to breathe. I think that they're a sensory thing. Yeah, yep. All right, so I'm going to give you the spelling of that word. These are called pectins, and it reminds me a little bit of like pecs. This makes me laugh. But they are these small comb-like appendages. They are behind the final pair of legs. My guess is that they are also connected to the cephalothorax and that they're not connected to the abdomen. But they are used to pick up chemical cues. They're what we call chemo sensors. They are chemosensory, meaning they have the ability to sense chemicals, different organic compounds that they may walk over. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's what they do. They are the cool brushy things. And it is a thing that starts with a P, the pectins. So So yes, they are a cool comb-like thing. Ooh. My significant other is upstairs making popcorn. I can smell it. So on the bottom of tarantulas have a respiration thing called a book lung, and they are right about there. Generally, I think they're actually on the bottom of the abdomen, kind of the front of the abdomen, and they're called book lungs. And they're called that because from the outside they just look like a series of stripes, but if you actually look at them under a microscope, those stripes are essentially, you're looking at the end of pages, and their lungs sit like this, where they've got lots of vertical spaces that look like pages of, if you like held a book open by the spine and let the pages open, and that's kind of their book lung, or how they dissolve oxygen into their blood. Oh, that makes me so happy, Avea. I am glad that you have found your love of scorpions. I'm glad that we were able to flip it over so that you could check it out. That's definitely a characteristic. Oops, hey. Leave that alone. These three lines right here, I think are going to get us down to genus in this scorpion. I don't remember much about scorpion identification, but I do remember that the lines, the vertical lines on the last segments of the Metasoma, or the last segments of the tail, they can get you to an identification. Just don't remember what that is. Imagine if our nose dragged along the ground. That's amazing. All right, so I think I am pretty happy with today. We got the top and the bottom taken care of. I am going to very, very carefully flip this scorpion back over so that it's back on its feet and in a safer position. But I don't have to do that on camera. I hope you all have had a wonderful time. Let me go on over to my closer. Where did that go? It has walked away. There it is. All right. So, I really appreciate every single one of you who come all the time. I appreciate all of you, and the fact that you guys have also created this really cool, close-knit group of people who just want to hang out and talk about bugs. I absolutely love it. I really appreciate it. And we can add 8 and 10 and 8-legged creatures and 10-legged creatures and maybe even a myriapod or two into our sketching. You'll have to ask me nicely though, because I don't know if I have very many. The house centipede is a difficult one because I don't have a house centipede, and they have so many legs that it's hard to keep a good specimen that is not in alcohol. The other thing is that centipedes tend to have very, very soft bodies, and so when they dry out, they crinkle and shrivel in a way that they no longer look realistic. They no longer are really sketchable. So, I want to point out a couple of these things here. Right up there, it just says OutSchool. It's a little symbol. It means that I teach OutSchool classes. I teach classes to kids 5 to 8. I also teach classes for 9 to 12-year-olds. They are illustration classes. They are weekly insect studies where we go more into really pretty I think this week we were talking about the nightshade wasp that is a parasitoid of cockroaches. So we got to talk about that this week. We talk about all types of stuff. So if you know a student of school age who wants to hang out and talk about bugs, I have students from all over the world now. The numbers of international students are on the rise, and I'm really excited about it. Over there, that is my link to my YouTube channel, or your reminder to go ahead and subscribe. And that is a QR code to my PayPal in case you wanted to send me a donation and tell me about how much you love spending time and sketching with me. All of these links are also in the description box. So there's a link for OutSchool for a discount that is... if it's like your first time to sign into it, OutSchool will give you $20. If you use my link, subscribe, and you can find my link to my PayPal down there too in the description box. So, if that doesn't seem to work. Feel free to buy me a coffee or think about one really cool fact you learned or something that you're going to share with a friend or a relative. It really makes a difference in my life, and I really appreciate all of you who hang out with me every week. If you are looking for me on social media and you cannot find me at Insectopia, it's probably because you need to add the 2015 at the end of it. On Facebook and on Instagram, I am at Insectopia 2015 instead of Insectopia because someone else beat me to it. Maybe one of these days I'll be big enough and I can ask for it back. But as of right now, we just throw the year that Insectopia started, 2015, and we move on from there. Do I card the kids? How do I prove their age? Well, I do not card the children, but I do make sure they are not adults. So I'm sorry, Marley. We aren't allowed to have any adults in the classes. And all of our students do have to turn on their cameras to prove that they are not adults. It's just a safety thing with so many children from all over the world. We want to make sure that they are all children. I know. So, I mean, is this something that this group would be interested in? I do color sketches too that are mostly I just sit around and chat. Today we also went in and chatted about aphids. Oh, it's green so you can see right through it. We talked about aphids and how they release honeydew because these wasps will actually drink honeydew from their butts. It all revolves back to it. Sorry, guys. I walked right into that one. All right. So, have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm going to be signing off. I believe that I have covered everybody's questions, comments, concerns. Next week, I think I want to sketch the Scathophagid. It's a poop fly, but they are so pretty. They're fluffy and yellow, and I really kind of want to do it. So I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week. Maybe I'll see some of you on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and if not, I'll see you next Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. California time. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and stay buggy!